On July 9th, 2019, after losing in the NBA Finals, LeBron finally went over to the Western Conference to the coveted Lakers, with aspirations of a ring. Yet playing alongside the young stars, they couldn't manage to make the playoffs. Meanwhile, in the East, Kawhi Leonard, who was traded from the San Antonio Spurs to the Toronto Raptors, had managed to do the impossible in beating a Golden State team consisting of Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson and DeMarcus Cousins. Yet with his contract only being 1 year, his future was still uncertain. Kevin Durant on Golden State was consistently being slandered for not being the man on his own team, and the tension in Boston with Kyrie leading was rapidly growing, only to reach a boiling point with this clip of Kyrie telling KD about 2 max contracts in Brooklyn. Along with rumours of Paul George increasingly wanting to be a Laker and Anthony Davis growing tired in New Orleans, it seemed as though all the pieces were moving at the right time. Then, it happened. July 6th, Anthony Davis is traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in a 3-team trade. July 6th, Kyrie Irving signs to the Brooklyn Nets. July 7th, Kevin Durant is traded to the Brooklyn Nets. July 9th, Kawhi Leonard signs with the Los Angeles Clippers. July 10th, Paul George is traded to the LA Clippers. July 16th, Russell Westbrook is traded to the Houston Rockets. And with this influx of superstar moves, along with the pre-established duos of old and a potential future young cores, the future of the league seems to be moving towards the duo era. Yet only 4 short years later, the duo era, the players who risked it all, moving from established situations to uncharted rebuilding territory, have had varying results of success. Today, I'm going to look at some of the teams in the duo era and rank how they succeeded towards their ultimate goal. The Lakers started off the duo era confident and strong, with many people having them as the favourites going in, especially with the additions they made to complement Anthony Davis and LeBron James like Danny Green, KCP, Avery Bradley, Rajon Rondo, and Dwight Howard. Even when the world shut down and the bubble took core players like Avery Bradley, they managed to step up against the best players in the world at their peak and win a championship. But for the next 3 years, they would barely amount to a playoff team, for the simple fact that Anthony Davis and LeBron James looked so incredible that we genuinely forgot that LeBron was 36 and was bound to slow down, and we didn't even know what Anthony Davis was yet. In the following years, LeBron and AD would break down, and this would expose the team's issue with lack of consistency or a well-constructed roster. I'll put it this way, every player from the 2020 championship roster is gone. The 2021 Lakers were considered better, but AD and Bron only played 27 out of 72 games together. The team ended up as a play-in team and only made the playoffs by 3 points, just to lose in the first round to the Suns. The next season, 16 out of the team's 19 players were moved to create one of the worst Laker rosters we've seen in a while, being bottom 10 in defensive rating, offensive rating, total net rating, and record in the league. The lack of consistency and competency in the Lakers roster beside LeBron and AD killed their trajectory. The Team 360 was never a good move, and though it was likely the GM in action, even if you accommodate that one move, the rest of the supporting cast was never built to contend or be competent without either of their stars present. They need spacing and shot creation. It's that simple. Yet they went and got every player that doesn't do that, which is wasting away LeBron's final few years and AD's prime. But for the championship they got, and the rumours that consistently pop up whilst only being a few serious moves from contending, it gets them a B-. The Brooklyn Nets, D+. The East should have been the Nets. Their only real competition was the Bucks. Yet the Bucks have gone on to win a championship. The Nets haven't even made it out the second round. Realistically, a lot of people, including myself, never believed that the Nets were constructed well enough to win a championship, mainly because their defense is such a negative that it was like fighting with a sword but no armor. And while they've recently added a quality defender in Ben Simmons, before that, they were top 15 in defense only once, and consistently made adjustments and additions to the team that never improved that singular aspect. The only serious chance they had to win a championship was in 2019 when the Lakers sucked. The West wasn't looking competitive and they added former MVP James Harden. And even then, KD had to average 35, 9 and 4 on 50, 40, 87 to lose in the second round. And while injuries are a common theme in this video, and the Brooklyn Nets have dealt with their fair share, that wasn't even the major issue of the team. The sheer amount of drama and headache that the team had to deal with killed them, as in the span of 2.5 years, Kyrie didn't want to go to China with the team because of the political issues in Hong Kong. He resisted the team tracking his vitals and fitness because he thought they were selling off his information. Kenny Atkinson, the coach, said that they weren't running plays on the court. He was then fired, with rumours of KD and Kyrie being the main reason he was fired. Once the league shut down, Irving wanted to continue in a safe and secure environment, i.e. the bubble. But once the bubble was becoming a legitimate idea, Irving rescinded his support to refocus the world's attention on social justice and inequalities in America, and he refused to play despite being healthy and able. He also tried pushing for NBA players to go on strike, which ultimately worked for one game after the shooting of Jacob Blake. An inexperienced Steve Nash was hired, likely at the behest of Kevin Durant. Harden forced his way out of Houston to Brooklyn at the behest of KD for Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince in a 4-team trade. Kyrie Irving disappeared for 2 weeks, then was fined $50,000 when he was found at a house party, and then 2 months later took an official leave. Going into the playoffs, Harden, Durant and Irving had only played 10 games together and would lose in the second round to the Bucks. Mike D'Antoni and Ime Udoka left the organization. Kyrie Irving refused to be vaccinated, and the city of New York issued a mandate saying you had to be vaccinated in order to enter any event arena, meaning Kyrie could only play away games in cities and states that didn't have similar mandates, which the Nets were fine with, until they weren't and decided that Kyrie wasn't allowed to play any games until a decision had been made. During his time away from the team, Kyrie and the management had little to no contact. Irving was rumoured to retire if they tried forcing him to get vaccinated, but the Nets gave in and allowed him to become the first part-time player since 1962. With Irving being a part-time player and KD and other various teammates getting injured, James grew frustrated, which led to him requesting and getting traded to the 76ers for an injured Ben Simmons, Seth Curry and picks. Irving and Harden also had quarrels due to his refusal to get vaccinated, and KD consistently validating Irving whilst constantly blaming the management in his stead. Irving was reinstated as a full-time player after New York lifted the mandate, then Brooklyn was swept by a young Celtics team, and KD and Kyrie significantly struggled in that series. In the offseason, Irving was offered a 2-year guaranteed max contract and 4 years under stipulation, which he declined as he felt disrespected by it, choosing to become a free agent instead, only to eventually opt in until his contract was done. Kevin Durant, the cornerstone of the team, requested a trade once again to the team that just beat him. He also said he doesn't want the man he allegedly brought in to be on the team, just for KD to rescind his trade request and Steve Nash to return anyway. But then, Steve Nash was fired anyway, and Ime Udoka, amidst his cheating scandal, was immediately named as his replacement. But Ime was never signed, and instead they hired Jacques Vaughn. Even this season, Irving tweeted some shit, got into a fight with a reporter, then he was suspended for refusing to apologise. And while the Nets have recently started to improve in the regular season, with KD arguably playing the best he's ever played, this team was finals or bust. And in the 4 years they've been together, they haven't even scraped the conference finals. Now the teams like the Bucks, the Celtics, and even the fucking Cavs have come and surpassed them. And with Kyrie leaving and KD consistently breaking down, that leaves Ben Simmons and Seth Curry as the core of your team. Yeah, they failed. D+. The Clippers, C-. The Clippers are slightly below passing grade because of one word: injuries. This team were a lot of people's favourites going into 2020, adding 2 all-defense caliber players who are also offensive juggernauts. Their expectations for the team seemed mighty high for them. With their only competition really being the Lakers, it was either ring or bust. And from their first year together, PG showed us it was a massive bust. While in PG's first season in OKC, he had a poor playoff performance. In his second season there, he was having an MVP Defensive Player of the Year caliber season. So going to LA with Kawhi, what happened in the playoffs came out of the furthest left field. They were in an environment where everyone was meant to be at their best. 168 days rest. 5.5 months. That's 241,920 minutes of rest. And no fans or away games. Yet Paul George played the worst he's ever played. As for the entire playoffs, he averaged 20 points on under 40% from the field with 4 assists and 3 turnovers. And while he may not have impacted the game statistically, even through the eye test, he wasn't defending to the levels we know he can, he wasn't grabbing rebounds, he's never been a playmaker, he wasn't impacting the court in any aspects. Then Kawhi choked in Game 7, going for 14 on 27% shooting, and it was clear that the potential the Clippers had wasn't lived up to and would not be lived up to. The Clippers should have had it easy in the West, with their only real matchup being the Suns and the Jazz. But injuries would consistently derail their trajectory, like when Kawhi was having a historic playoff run in 21, averaging 30 points on 60% shooting, and Paul George was an improved version of himself. Kawhi would get injured in the series against Utah, and Paul George and the Clippers couldn't continue their run against the finals-bound CP3 and the Suns. The next season with Doc Rivers gone, Paul George would only play 31 games and Kawhi didn't play at all. And presently, Kawhi has only played 20 games and is only now starting to warm up, averaging 29, 7 and 4 on 57-45 splits over his last 8 games. So while the roster has consistently been good and even improved from the start, if the people the roster is built around don't play, all their expectations mean naught. They only get a C- and not worse, because while they haven't produced, they've constructed a roster that is well put together and theoretically could get it done, if everything, and I mean everything, goes right. The Houston Rockets, F. They were in the duo era for 1 year and blew it up immediately. They formed a solid unit with Westbrook and Harden, who, with the right moves, could pose a threat to certain teams, yet they blew it up after 1 season. Even if you moved Westbrook and Capella, the team the organization was constructing around Harden was significantly worse than before. They directly swapped Westbrook for a hurt John Wall, added DeMarcus Cousins, who wasn't the same after his ACL tear, and brought in Carmelo Anthony for 10 games, who at the time had been at the league for months. Then, after letting go of the heart of your team and fully committing to a rebuild, it looks like they still don't know what they're doing. Christian Wood was traded to Dallas after a breakout season. KPJ had won 50 and 10 game, and now they think he's the future Chris Paul. Alperen Sengun is probably a steal on the draft and the best player on the team, but they don't play through him enough. Jalen Suggs ISOs every chance he gets. The coach runs some of the worst offensive sets I've ever seen. Jabari Smith's potential is seriously being called into question, and the team has fallen into the worst of the worst teams. They're in the Wemby sweepstakes, but the bottom 3 teams have even odds of getting the #1 pick, so they might not even get him. And even if they do, I doubt they'll use him correctly. Big fat F. The Golden State Warriors, A-. The Warriors, either by blind luck or their loose levels of IQ, have been one of the best run organizations in the NBA. When the duo era started, they had lost their best player, their second star had come off an ACL tear and wouldn't play for 941 days, and the remaining star only played 5 games, leaving the roster of D'Angelo Russell, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green leading the charge. Completely underwhelming. So while it seemed bleak for the Warriors, in 2 seasons they completely turned it around. The reason they got an A- for only 1 ring is because the Warriors are in a position where they're still competing for a championship, even with Klay not being his old self. They still have pieces they can trade to go from threats to contenders, and B, the Warriors have secured a future for themselves beyond Curry, Klay and Draymond, with the young core of Poole, Kuminga and Wiseman all being star caliber players. Even with the controversy that took place in the offseason, Jordan Poole is averaging 30 as a starter, Draymond Green may leave opening up more money for quality young pieces, and Kuminga and Wiseman have shown flashes of being quality pieces. To be so well run that you've not only created the opportunity for yourselves to repeat as champions, but also have options in terms of how you maneuver your young pieces, either being the future of the team or high value trade pieces, not to mention Curry's having the best year of his career, averaging 30, but at one point was averaging 33 on 70% true shooting and averages 67% true shooting for the entire season. As I said, they're loose level planning. The team's main concern is Draymond leaving in the offseason, as well as the West being so close. But even if they do, they'll be fine. And I talk about why in this video here. If you like the video, like the video. If you don't. Subscribe if you want, and I'm done. Okay, bye.